feels like an international break at the moment. It really does. That's our fault for being out of the cup, for goodness sake. I can't help but think if we'd have just got rid of Lopetegui, he got that like second stay of execution. If that hadn't have happened, if maybe we'd have got rid of him before the Wolves game, I do wonder if we'd have been in a better position and maybe, just maybe, Potter given a little bit more time at it. We might have been through in the Cup. We might have been involved this weekend. Of course, there's been the League Cup the past couple of nights, which have been both North London clubs have obviously gone out. Tottenham got dumped in the end, didn't they? Kept it close, got dumped in the end. Liverpool and Newcastle final, that one. So he's done well. I'll tell you what, Eddie Howe's done really, really well at that club. He's not been able to spend as much money as I'm sure they wanted to. Richest club in the world can't spend any money. There you go. On to West Ham, and talking about transfers today, as you'll have no doubt seen from the thumbnail. It was one of the weirdest things. I had a bit of contact with a club this morning, and it was really just to ask about this Daniel Cummings transfer. And the Daniel Cummings, just in case you've had your head stuck under a rock, there were probably bigger transfers that we were looking to get done near and around the end of the transfer window. And we did, with Evan Ferguson. We'll talk about him actually at the end of the video. But Daniel Cummings is he's basically the Celtic Wonderkid, isn't he? He is their best young player. Now, he's run down his contract. He is available for free, but he's available free in the summer, but he can sign a pre-contract now. And anyone that signs him, which we're hoping will be West Ham, will have to pay a compensation fee in the region of £250,000, something like that. And they'd have to pay that to Celtic, obviously. We tried to sign him. We tried to sign him near and around transfer deadline day. And it's really hard to know the precise numbers because these are just rumours. But apparently we bid £500,000, which basically, look, we'll give you 500k, give him to us now. Otherwise, he's going to come to us for 250k in June. But anyway, they decided to reject it. Apparently, we went back with a final bid, which was going to be somewhere below 750k. Anyway, they rejected it. It was apparently Brendan Rodgers who instructed the club to turn it down. So he's a very, very good player. He got some minutes for the end of Celtic's game against Aston Villa in the Champions League. But aside from that, he doesn't really play. He doesn't play first-team football, which is why he's run down his contract. Now, actually speaking to a few Celtic players, I haven't spoken to any Celtic players, speaking to a few Celtic fans, and particularly I know a Celtic fan who runs a Celtic website, Celtic news website. He's not very good at doing this, Rodgers. He doesn't. He's not a great one for incorporating youth. We've all been there as West Ham fans, haven't we? We know, we probably understand the young lad's pain in that sense. And he likes a little bit more pace up front, and Cummings isn't really that, but he's very prolific, pretty much a goal a game in youth football, and not just in Scottish youth football either. He's prolific, pretty much a goal a game in the UEFA Youth League as well. So really good player, highly regarded player. Now here's the interesting thing. I asked the club about him this morning, what's going on with this Daniel Cummings transfer, and what came back was Mark Noble's handling the transfer. This is Mark Noble's deal. The exact words. Now, I know I said a little while ago that I was quite pleased with Potter coming in and Carl McCauley taking the job, that we would no longer have to worry about who signed who. And I know I said that, and I meant that, and I am pleased, because I think what happened in the summer with Lopetegui signing some players, with Stighton signing some players, with Ferguson, with one player recommended by an agent, with one player signed by Sullivan, I thought it was a mess. So I thought it needed tidying up. That being said, I still think this is good. I quite like that, actually. I quite like that Mark Noble, who's obviously in charge of the academy, and technically his name is sporting director. Well, actually, his name is not sporting director. His name is Mark Noble. But his job title is sporting director. It's quite nice that he has some autonomy over transfers. It's quite nice that he's clearly got a bit of a budget there to bring young players in. And I think this is really, really good. And what this goes to show you is that the sort of speculation at the time that it was really Potter looking to push this Cummings deal through was not the case at all. This was not the case. It probably wouldn't have featured at all. This is Mark Noble trying to bolster the youth setup if you want. Now, you would hope that by signing for West Ham, he's probably going to be offered the type of integration and chance at first team football he probably didn't get at Celtic. But Noble could probably offer him that now. Whereas before, even if Noble was saying that to players, he probably wouldn't have been telling the truth because it wasn't there. It wasn't there under Moyes and it wasn't there under Lopetegui. But it's there. It's there under Potter now. So I think Noble can turn around to Graham Potter and say, right, if I get this guy, will we give him a chance? And Potter can say yes. And everyone can believe one another, right? Because that's changed it immediately. What we've seen Potter do with the inclusion of, obviously, Ollie Scholes and with Reece Oxford, and to a lesser extent, the fact he did. Guilherme's seen more time under Potter than anyone than Lopetegui, hasn't he? I think that's probably fair. If not, he certainly will have done within the next 5 or 6 games. I think you can actually turn around and say we have a manager in place now who will give you the chance. Then that's a really good thing. But it's not Potter driving it, it's Mark Noble driving it. I think this is a really, really good thing. So, yeah, I just thought it was interesting. This is Mark Noble's transfer. This is Mark Noble leading the dance on this one. Just to talk about Potter, actually, just before I do, can I please point you in the direction of today's video sponsor, which is Surfshark. Or a Surfshark and a VPN. Why do you need a VPN? Well, because there's people snooping, there's people doing dodgy stuff, and there's people trying to get access to what you've got on your devices. Whether you're watching this on a phone, whether you're watching it on a laptop, somebody wants the information because you might do internet banking, you could do any number of things. You could do, particularly, as I didn't even realise until recently, the amount of times I go out into public and I'll be in like a shopping centre, use the shopping centre Wi-Fi. You'd be sat down for a bite to eat, you use their Wi-Fi. This is not secure. And if there's anybody who really wants to, they can get access to all the information on your phone. So it's really important when you're doing that, you give yourself a level of security, and then what you're doing is basically by using a VPN, you're bumping your location all around. It's all very clever. I don't begin to understand it, but basically you can change your location on there, and you basically encrypt and you protect everything that you're doing online. One deal covers all your devices, and basically you've got a discount code for you, Hammers Chat, all one word, but there's a link in the description below, surfshark.com/Hammers Chat. We've got 4 months free and a 30-day money-back guarantee. It's cheap as chips as well. Go and check out the deal. It's a deal that's exclusive just to Hammers Chat for you guys that follow us. So obviously, you know, we get a nice little bit of sponsorship. You guys yourselves, you get a discount on what is a fantastic product. And no word of a lie, I've been using this for 3 years before they even came and they sponsored us. So that is Surfshark. Check it out. Links in the description below. Evan Ferguson, really interesting story yesterday. The story went that West Ham had really been basically. Brighton had driven a hard bargain. Brighton never, ever wanted to sell Evan Ferguson to West Ham. They were only interested in a loan deal. I've been told that's absolute nonsense. That's not the case at all. The reason, in which case the deal would have been easy. The deal would have been very, very easy and very straightforward because Evan Ferguson wanted to play for Graham Potter. I mean, it's like he makes the play, wants to come play for West Ham. He doesn't. He wants to come play for Graham Potter. Hopefully, during the time at West Ham, he can learn to love West Ham, as many players have certainly done so. No more so than our very own Jarrod Bowen, of course. But he wanted to join and play under his old boss, Graham Potter. The easiest thing in the world would have been a straight loan deal. The reason the negotiations took the best part of 6 days on this one was because, as I understand it, Brighton wanted the obligation to buy. We didn't. We were worried, and rightly so. I know. Listen, I do understand not everyone is going to agree with this, but some people think it's bad that we didn't have the obligation to buy. I think it was a sensible thing to do just because of the guy's injury record. And it would seem that the club were aligned with that. So the club were pushing back. In the end, what actually happened was, as I understand it, it was actually Ferguson and his representatives that turned around to Brighton and said, look, can you just make this deal happen, please? I want to play football. Not quite as bad as Daniel Cummings there, in as much as he wasn't getting no game time at all, but Ferguson was getting very, very little. He's clearly not in the... I'm not saying... Look, if you would say he's not in the plans of Fabian Hersler, I'm sure you'd get some pushback on that. I'm sure the club and Hersler would say, oh, no, of course, it's in my plans for the future, but that would just be a bit of waffle, wouldn't it? It'd just be a bit of PR stuff. You don't want to pay too much attention to that. The evidence before your eyes is that actually other players are in front of him at Brighton. He is not... He's probably Brighton's third choice striker. And for a young player, up and coming, be you know, with someone with real ambition and with real talent as well, that's not good enough. He wants to improve. These are This is the point where you really want to be playing. You want to be improving yourself as a player. And that's certainly the case there. So as I understand it, he went and said, look, what's the point you keep me here? Let me go there. At least I'm going to play. He's had, who knows? I don't know if he's had assurances. You would imagine that Potter's going to play him. Look, let's be fair. There's so many injury problems at West Ham. You're going to get a game. If you're a striker at West Ham, and you stay fit, you're going to get some game time, and that's going to be the case with him certainly. But as I understand it, it was actually West Ham who were saying no, just a loan, and it was Brighton saying no, obligation to buy. How much for? I don't know, 40, 50, 60 million pound. Who could say that? This depends on which newspaper, which website you read, which valuation you believe on that. But yeah, there was reports coming out yesterday which suggested that Brighton were the ones who were insistent it was only a straight loan. That they're basically, from the club side of things, that is completely refuted. The deal, as I was told earlier on today, the deal would have got done very, very quickly if that was the case. If both parties just wanted a straight loan, that would have been done very, very quickly. But it wasn't the case at all. Could come back to bite us on the bum. You never know. Maybe if he's brilliant, then we've got to buy him for big money. Or Brighton have got to play him, haven't they? Or someone else buys him for big money. But make no mistake about it, we would have had a good player for a very, very long, not for a very long period of time, but it had done, it allows us to target some other individuals, for Carl McCauley to get all these ducks lined up, for them to. They didn't have much time today. They come in mid-January. They had 2 weeks. And even McCauley was there. McCauley was probably only there for the last third of the transfer window. Maybe not even that much. So not enough time to get his feet under the table, start compiling a list of players that they want to bring in. So what Ferguson deal does, it buys us time. It buys us time. I hope he's really good. And I hope if he's really good, we do sign him permanently. But as things stand at the moment, we've got Fulkrug to come back. What happens there? Look, I can't. How many times have I said it? I've said it so many times. From the I don't know, probably from about September onwards, I didn't expect him to be here next season. And I don't think he'd have been here now. If he hadn't got injured, I don't think he'd have been here now. I think he would have gone in January. I really do. So look, what we've done, we've bought ourselves a bit of time. We have to have a bit of time. We have to get this right. We're so bad at buying strikers. We have to get this thing absolutely right. That being said, as I said at the start of the video, this Daniel Cummings one with Mark Noble, that's his business. And do you know what? I like to see it. And I bet at the moment Mark Noble feels more important than at any point since he stopped playing at West Ham. I bet now he does feel like the sporting director. Not only does he feel he's in charge of the academy, I bet he feels empowered. I bet when he's speaking to the parents, he feels, no, actually, I'm not going to be disingenuous here. I'm going to be honest. I can give him an honest appraisal. And what was brilliant, I don't know if you saw it, but when the under-18s played, I can't remember the date. Within the last 3 or 4 days, the under-18s played, and Potter and all his staff were there, up in the stands. This is really, really good. I do want to say that, it's not like David Moyes never went to any youth games. He did. But what you get is you get players feeling like $1 million when they're there and playing in front of the coach and all the team, all the staff there. A load of them have been brought in for training as well. I just think with Mark Noble, there's probably a real feel-good factor around the academy at the moment. And, he's been given some autonomy to bring players in. The manager's speaking about the academy all the time as well. I know we've not done brilliant, and maybe results not been quite as good as Potter wanted, but I'm certainly, for one, I'm looking at this long term. I'm sick of reacting to every manager that comes in, and so yeah. I mean, look, was he my first choice? No, far from it. But I've got to say, the more I see of him, the more impressed I get, and I'm more than happy to be won over by him. I just hope I don't get catfished, as Gio often says.